to do what we do, you got to be able to take abuse. You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you. In this business, you got to be able to have people disrespecting you. And you got to smile and you got to pretend like that's okay.
Will Smith has never shied away from crediting Sidney Poitier as one of his greatest influences.
I owe you nothing. If you carried that bag 1,000,000 miles, you did what you were supposed to do.
For Smith, Poitier was more than an icon. He was a North Star. As a young black man watching films from the golden age of Hollywood, Smith saw in Poitier something that was almost unimaginable at the time. A black actor not only occupying lead roles, but doing so with authority, elegance, and grace. This wasn't tokenism. It was powerful, pioneering work that had real impact. Smith has said he wanted to be the first black man to win the Academy Award for Best Actor until Sidney beat me to it. But far from being resentful, he saw Poitier's triumph as a door opened for others. What made Poitier's example so vital to Smith was that it offered a working model. Here was a man who never allowed the limitations of the era to define him.
They throw me in solitary confinement and she said, "Be nice." Man short waved me when I turned in my crop. She said, "Be nice or you get in trouble."
He took roles with meaning, refused to be typecast, and exuded a calm, self-assured dignity that challenged the industry's narrow view of race. Smith learned from Poitier that acting could be a form of leadership. It wasn't just about lines and cameras, it was about integrity, legacy, and representing something bigger than yourself. That understanding shaped Smith's approach to fame and performance from the beginning. Because Sidney Poitier modeled a career defined by discipline and purpose, Will Smith began to measure his success not only in popularity or paychecks, but in the kind of man he was becoming. If Poitier was the giant whose shoulders Smith stood on, Denzel Washington was the peer who helped him stay steady once he got there.
I got celebrities, I got sports figures, I got Harlem, Richie. I took care of Harlem. You don't owe me anything. I owe you.
Smith has long admired Washington for his gravitas, control, and skill. Denzel is a monster. That dude's a beast. I watch his work and it's just flawless, Smith once said. For him, Washington is not only a master of craft, but a man of principle, someone who embodies both emotional power and personal wisdom. Their relationship deepened over the years. Behind the scenes, Washington has often played the mentor. Smith has shared how, during moments of personal crisis, Denzel has offered clarity and insight rather than judgment. One conversation during a particularly public controversy stuck with Smith. "At your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you."
Denzel said to me a few minutes ago, he said, "At your highest moment, be careful, that's when the devil comes for you."
That warning came not just from a fellow actor, but from someone who understands the spiritual minefield of fame.
There's a saying, when the devil ignores you, then you know you're doing something wrong. Wait a minute, I'm not done now. You know, the devil goes, "Oh no, leave him alone. Hey, he's my favorite." Don't you bother him.
Yeah.
Conversely, when the devil comes at you, maybe it's because you're trying to do something right.
Smith has absorbed more than just sound bites from Washington. He's studied his career. He's looked at how Washington moved seamlessly from drama to action to historical roles without ever losing credibility. He's admired the consistency, the commitment to truth, and the refusal to compromise for the sake of applause. Because Denzel Washington embodied discipline and resilience in the face of extraordinary pressure, Will Smith adopted those values and applied them to his own career choices, steering away from superficial roles and towards projects with heart and grit. Though Will Smith famously turned down the role of Neo in The Matrix, he's always spoken about Keanu Reeves with a kind of reverence.
I did turn down Neo in The Matrix.
It's not just that Reeves made the role iconic, it's the way he handled it. both on screen and off, that made Smith respect him even more. "I wasn't mature enough as an actor," Smith has said of his decision to pass on the film, but he adds that Reeves was perfect. He was brilliant. I couldn't have done what he did. What impressed Smith most was Reeves's lack of ego. In an industry bloated with self-congratulation, Keanu stood apart. He trained obsessively, took hits without complaint, and rarely drew attention to himself. That sense of quiet excellence deeply appealed to Smith, who has often spoken about the value of humility and consistency. In Reeves, Smith recognized something familiar yet aspirational, a man who never needed to announce his worth because his work said it all. There was no flash, no bravado, just precision and purpose. That ethos, of letting the work speak for itself, is something Smith increasingly embraced as his own career matured. Because Keanu Reeves demonstrated that greatness could be achieved without arrogance or noise, Will Smith began to shift his own focus away from fame and towards the kind of steady, respectful approach that builds a lasting legacy. For Will Smith, Alfonso Ribeiro is more than just his co-star from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's an artist in his own right.
It's not unusual to be loved. It's not unusual to have fun.
Smith has often described Ribeiro as the most naturally gifted comedic performer I've ever worked with. From the beginning of their collaboration, Ribeiro brought a level of timing, physicality, and energy that gave the show much of its rhythm and charm. Smith has spoken candidly about how much he learned from watching Ribeiro. "He was a stage-trained kid, Broadway sharp," he said. "I was this rapper with no acting experience. Alfonso taught me the fundamentals." The Carlton character may have been funny, but Ribeiro's discipline behind the scenes gave Smith a crash course in comedic mechanics: how to hold a beat, how to react rather than act, and how to listen to the rhythm of a scene.
Make like a tree and leave. I never say that. It's make like a banana and split.
Ribeiro's ability to turn even throwaway lines into comic gold forced Smith to raise his game. As the show went on, Smith started to match him beat for beat, eventually growing into the role with more control and nuance. But he never forgot who helped him get there. Because Alfonso Ribeiro brought precision and professionalism to every joke, Will Smith gained a deep respect for comedy as a serious craft, and carried that awareness into his later work in both drama and action. The relationship between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence goes far beyond the Bad Boys franchise. It's built on trust, timing, and mutual understanding.
You trying to get my daughter high? You smoke that shit?
Nigga, who that is,
It's
dog?
Reggie!
Who the fuck is Reggie?
Can't to take Megan out.
Smith has said that Lawrence is the only actor who can make me break character just by looking at me. Their chemistry on screen is electric, and it's not by accident. Both actors bring different energies, Smith often playing the slick, composed type, while Lawrence injects chaos and charm. What Smith values in Lawrence is his authenticity. Martin is always Martin. No matter how big the stage or the stakes, he's himself. That's rare, Smith said in an interview. Working with Lawrence taught Smith that sometimes the best performances come from abandoning the script and following instinct. Their improvisations became legendary, turning routine scenes into memorable moments. Smith credits the success of Bad Boys not just to the writing or action, but to the dynamic they built together. Lawrence's fearlessness encouraged Smith to take more risks, to relax into scenes, and to trust that something great would emerge. Because Martin Lawrence brought spontaneity and raw charisma into every scene, Will Smith learned to value chemistry as much as preparation, and leaned into that alchemy in later partnerships and ensemble work. When Will Smith once jokingly put himself on his personal Mount Rushmore of actors, it was part jest, part confession. He's never been shy about ambition, but over the years, his self-perception has shifted from ego-driven to introspective. He began to see himself not as the center of the story, but as part of a continuum, standing on the shoulders of those who came before him and creating space for those who would follow. Smith has reflected deeply on his own development. "I've had a long relationship with fame. Sometimes I handled it well, sometimes I didn't, he admitted. But what stands out is how often he returns to the question of legacy. What kind of actor does he want to be remembered as? What kind of man? He's made it clear that he doesn't want to be defined by awards, controversies, or viral moments. He wants to be known for the quality of his work, the consistency of his character, and the sincerity of his journey. "I'm trying to be better," he said. "That's the real goal, just to be better." Because Will Smith chose to look inward and confront his flaws, he has continued to grow, not just as a performer, but as a person who understands the weight of influence, the cost of missteps, and the value of growth.